Sock back from a concussion. Kyle Collinsworth, talented freshman. Emery and Fredette, great backcourt. The Cougar coach is Dave Rose in his 6th year at BYU, and he talked about his Dodge keys to victory today.
Rebounding is a huge key, and then this will be a very physical game, and so we're going to have to be, play with kind of a toughness that is, right on the edge.
Now the KFC UCLA starting lineups. Reeves Nelson and Josh Smith's strength down low will be important for the Bruins. Malcolm Lee's defense on Jimmer Fredette will be the biggest challenge, and Zeke Jones is the point guard. The coach Ben Howland is in his 8th year at UCLA, and he talked about his Dodge keys to beating BYU.
The key for us today is, number one, the transition defense. We've got to get back and not let them push the ball and get easy shots in transition. Secondly, we've got to do a good job trying to keep Fredette under control and not let him go crazy.
Ben Howland was a terrific defensive guard in his day at Weber State, and his Bruins have won 2 straight after losing 4 in a row. And you can see his record. He had tremendous success taking this team to 3 straight Final Fours. Brigham Young and Dave Rose, and there is his star guard, Jimmer Fredette, 6'2" senior from Glen Falls, New York.
The Adirondack assassin. Glen Falls, right at the foothills of the Adirondack mountain range. And Jimmer Fredette is going to be a handful for Malcolm Lee out top.
The Cougars in the navy with the white numerals, UCLA in the white uniforms and the blue numerals. Down low, it's Brandon Davey, and they'll want to get Josh Smith into foul trouble. And he has picked up a foul every 6 minutes.
But what UCLA wants to accomplish, they want to keep Fredette obviously under 30.
A steal by Malcolm Lee and Lazarus Jones. It's Jones picking up the basketball, taking it in strong, and missing the shot. Kyle Collinsworth. I watched him at practice yesterday, really impressed with his skills.
Doesn't have much of an outside shot right now, but he does a terrific job taking the ball strong to the basket, extremely effective working the baseline offensively.
An illegal screen, and that goes against Josh Smith, who told you the foul trouble that he's picked up this year. He can't get silly fouls like that one.
Well, that's one of the reasons why Coach Ben Howland of UCLA started Brendan Lane for a 3 or 4 game stretch just to save some fouls early on for Josh Smith.
This is Fredette. Look how clever he is getting in that lane. And Emery with the long 3-pointer doesn't go. Malcolm Lee, who has those long strides, picked up by Fredette nicely defensively.
I think if you're Malcolm Lee, you've got to challenge Jimmer Fredette's defense. Make him have to defend you coming up the floor, backpedaling.
Second turnover by the Bruins. Fredette for 3.
Oh. Here we go. He's got incredible range. The range that surprises you as a defensive player. You got your hands down. He's pulling it up in your face from 28 feet out.
Jimmer was the National Player of the Week, 59 points in wins over Vermont and Arizona. They blew out a Pac-10 school in the Wildcats by 22 a week ago. Here's Smith inside getting fouled.
And you see the double team between Hartsock and Davies down on big Josh Smith, and that's going to allow him to try and get started and bull his way to the basket and establish the kind of a position that a guy his size at 6'10", 305 pounds can establish.
Marcus, I've got to ask you about that. Ben Howland wants to run more this year, but with a guy who is a great low post presence like Josh Smith, will they take their time in that?
Well, you know, it's a work in progress, but you want to push on opportunity breaks off of missed shots, off of turnovers, some made baskets. But you also want to give the big fella, when you're in your half-court offense, you've got to go through him, give him his touches. I hear Brendan Lane going to replace Josh Smith, and this is all about keeping Josh Smith away from that second foul early.
Picked up the first on an illegal screen. This is Fredette. Jackson Emery is a senior from Alpine, Utah. Mr. Basketball for the state of Utah in 2005, and he is a terrific outside shooter. Lee trying to pick off the pass, and does. Second turnover for Fredette. Nelson back to Lee, back to Nelson, who slams it home.
There's that transition that UCLA is trying to improve upon and trying to implement and infuse into their offensive strategy to get some easy baskets.
Brandon Davies trying to get Lane in the air, and that's a nice move by Brandon, and he slips quickly by Lane.
Sophomore, 6'9", 235, Provo High School teammate of Kyle Collinsworth. I really like his game, Steve. A great face-up, jab, step, offensive basketball player.
Brigham Young opened in a 2-3 zone against Arizona, completely took them out of their game. The Wildcats were down early by 12 points, and Dave Rose has done a marvelous job in Provo. Last year won 30 games, lost only 6, finished second in the Mountain West Conference.
School record 30 wins for Dave Rose, and ironically, had 137 victories in his career at BYU. He could pass Frank Arnold, who was an assistant coach at UCLA for John Wooden, who recruited me back in 1973. They're both knotted up at 137 wins apiece.
The steal by Emery. He lays it up and in, and he is one of the greatest steal artists in Cougar history. He had a BYU record 91 last year.
Pilfer master, plays the passing lanes exceptionally well, anticipates right when you release that ball, he's jumping in passing lanes, leading to easy buckets at the other end.
We haven't seen Honeycutt touch the ball much early in this game. Collinsworth, the freshman, has been defending Tyler.
Yeah, nice job, Reed Nelson, on the drop-step baseline. But Honeycutt, the 33 points against Kansas, he didn't score his first basket until 13 minutes left in the first half. So a lot of times he will defer, allow the game to kind of come to him.
But after that 33 against Kansas, he scored only 32 in the next 3 games.
So that took a lot of wind out of his sails. He said that was a deflating loss that he's ever experienced.
Fredette, so clever getting inside, and BYU goes up by 5.
BYU coach Dave Rose talked about Fredette, and that's one of the things that impresses him, along with his long-range shooting, the ability to finish in traffic with either hand.
Honeycutt. An offensive foul against Tyler Honeycutt.
Got to play under control. Tyler Honeycutt is prone to be out of control sometimes on his forays to the basket. Jump stop. Coach Whitwer here. He'd say jump stop right here, young man, and be under control and not throw and fling your body into the defensive player, Brandon Davies, who was there since yesterday. Good job, Davies. Honeycutt, better control.
Tyler Honeycutt, the 6'8" sophomore. A string bean of a player, about 190 pounds. So much talent. This is Emery outside. Now Jeremy Anderson off the bench to take over for Zeke Jones.
Well, his action is to get the ball right here in the hand of Jimmer Fredette out top, isolated against Malcolm Lee. To his credit, he didn't force a lot of shots. I mean, everything's within kind of the context of what they're trying to do offensively.
Lee remains defensively on Jimmer. He gets it back and takes a shot from about 25 feet out and nails it.
But did you see how he squared his body, as I talked about in the open? He's coming to his left. He gets the handoff. He leaps in the air and then squares while in midair and finds the range on the bucket.
I loved watching him in practice yesterday. His focus, his determination. Reeves Nelson misses badly from three-point range. I don't think Ben wanted that shot, and there they go. Very quickly down the lane is Logan Magnuson, and BYU has opened up a 10-point lead on UCLA.
You got to get back in transition. Coach Howland talked about that as one of the keys to the game. The Bruins got into their home run trot. Getting back, just kind of casually getting back. BYU made them pay. Now, Jimmer Fredette, we talked about him offensively, Steve, finishing at the rim. Nice job with the extension, keeping the basketball away from the shot blocker. Here's the handoff. Here's the square up. Get the rim right in between your shoulders. Center that rim in between your shoulders and raise for the jumper. And you talk about the transition game, you've got to protect the basket first. That's the most important thing anytime you're busting back. Basket first, especially big guys.
Didn't you talk yesterday about Jimmer and Jackson playing together for such a long time that they have an intuitiveness about each other?
They do a tremendous job just kind of looking for each other. And this whole team, really, when Jimmer penetrates, they kind of have an idea what he's going to do before he does it. They get into the proper spots in case he needs a bailout pass to give the basketball to.
Reeves Nelson out top, being defended by Logan Magnuson.
You know, with a good offensive player, you got to make him play defense. You know, whoever he's guarding, you know, you got to press him a little bit and take it to the basket like that.
Honeycutt scores from outside his first bucket.
You know, Fredette matched up against Honeycutt. Be aggressive as an offensive player. Make Fredette have to play some defense. Take some of the punch out of his leg.
Offensive foul as Honeycutt set himself along that baseline, and that's the first on Kyle Collinsworth. We've got a timeout on the floor. BYU coming in unbeaten at 10-0. Fredette tied up by Lee, but Fredette has scored 8. And then Jackson Emery, his defense, has led to so many easy buckets for the Cougars. It's BYU by 8 over the Bruins.
I'm going to take a quick dip.
Okay.
Keep your head in the game with NFL Mobile and never miss a touchdown with NFL Red Zone every Sunday afternoon.
You're picturing me as Adrian Peterson again, aren't you?
Don't be silly, Adrian Peterson.
Stay focused. Get NFL Mobile only on Verizon.
From the moment you decide upon a BMW, the daydreaming begins. The anticipation, the acceleration, and the joy of the ultimate driving machine. Acquiring such a vehicle should be just as joyous. Visit what BMW drivers call the ultimate dealership and experience what makes a BMW a Rusnak. Shop online today for special offers available only to Rusnak clientele.
Have you ever considered, I don't know, getting it waxed?
Waxed?
Yeah.
Bro, that's a little weird.
I don't know. Doesn't seem that weird to me.
Just keep shaving my back, okay? Oh, dude, can I get a bite?
What? With my spoon? It's disgusting.
You're watching Prime Ticket.
The Cougars by 8 over the Bruins. Bank of the West brings you this passionate fan flashback. 3 years ago in the Wooden Classic, 2 of the nation's brightest collegiate stars met head-to-head. Davidson's Stephon Curry and UCLA's Kevin Love.
You know, they almost put a hurting on us. They had us down, I think, 16, 17 points in the first half. You know, Stephen Curry wasn't having the greatest game of his life, but he was setting up the rest of his teammates, and they were playing great ball, and they were well coached. So, you know, we were lucky enough to, you know, get a little run in the second half and make something happen for us so we could get the win.
UCLA won by 12, and Love had a double-double, and Ben Howlands, he had Kevin for 1 year, and that young man is now leading the NBA in rebounding.
By over 3 rebounds a game, and I had a lot of close friends of mine who will remain nameless that didn't think Kevin Love would be a good NBA basketball player, but you know, you watch him daily, watch him a lot in practice that freshman year, you could see the hunger and drive that he possessed. Now BYU back into their 2-3 zone that can morph it to a 1-3-1, that can morph it to a 3-2.
They'll need to hit their threes against this 2-3 zone. They do not. Fredette gets it up to Collinsworth. Finds Emery. Boy, they move the ball well. They call Fredette for travel. And I didn't see him move his right foot, but he plays at a different rhythm.
Yeah, he does. And just has an exceptional awareness of how to get to the spots he needs to get to. And then the ability to shoot the in-between floaters either hand makes him even more dangerous. And then he's not a selfish player, so he's not looking to get his shot out that time, looking to pass the basketball.
Each team with 4 turnovers. They get it down low to Reeves Nelson. Can't finish. Lane gets it, then loses it out of bounds. It's still Bruins basketball with 14 seconds left in the shot clock. Lane will stay in. Josh Smith will come back in for Reeves Nelson.
And not a bad move by Reeves Nelson. He thought it was foul on the play, but he's got to use that strength, that power of his to power through defenders as opposed to trying to finesse shots on the inside, trying to float to the opposite side. Go through people. Get to the free throw line.
UCLA not moving the ball very well against this 2-3 zone. Anderson misses his shot. Smith trying for the rebound and comes up empty. Let's go to Rebecca Harlow.
Guys, Josh Smith making an impact right away back in this ball game. Well, I caught up with him and asked him how he's been able to dominate. He's had 4 straight double-doubles over the last 4 games, and he said since this past June, he's been putting in 3-a-day workouts where he's getting up at 6 a.m., he's running, he's biking, he's lifting. The coaches are saying they're incredibly impressed with his work ethic. He's dropped 40 pounds, and it's showing in his finesse and his game, guys.
Tyler Honeycutt Rebecca with a shot outside, and I understand Josh has changed his diet to more chicken, rice, and fruit.
So no longer the literal McDonald's All-American.
Abua in the game. This is after he makes a nice move, and Lane trying to run it down. Finally successful with that with Zeke Jones.
Tyler Lamb also on the floor. An exceptional outside shooter to try and thwart this tricky 2-3 zone of BYU.
First foul on Abua.
And here's Tyler Honeycutt. We talked about it. He hadn't had a touch in about the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game. Now all of a sudden he's starting to assert himself. That's what he did against Kansas. Didn't score a bucket until about the 13-minute mark of that game. Finished with 33 points, a couple of 4-point plays.
He is such a smart young man, has such great floor awareness. Marcus, if you're his teammate, do you feel like you've got to at least give him a touch every possession?
You've got, because he's unselfish. He's going to get the ball back to you. And that's the thing, you know, give it to him and move without the basketball. And again, sometimes the pass is going to be a little bit too, let's say careless, but it's fancy when it's not called for. And he'll try and thread the needle when he doesn't, you know, when it's not there. Here's some ball screens. A lot of ball screens for Jimmer Fredette. Josh Smith has better be careful.
And the steal by Lazarick Jones. It's an 8-0 run by UCLA.
What you pick up in your scouting report when you're going to cross over right to left. Just get those hands down low. He's going to bring the basketball to you. Nice job. Lazarick Jones. Zeke.
Hartsock alone inside. Pushes the Cougars back up by 4.
Ball you man. Josh Smith had sight of ball, didn't have sight of his man.
Fredette now taking Lazarick Jones, the junior college star who came to UCLA in the offseason. Honeycutt was bumped as he took the shot. Lane picks it up. Smith trying to rebound. Lane gets it back. Reset the offense, and they do. Will they count the basket? No, they'll wave it off. There's a foul prior to.
Of course, on the next level, the NBA and internationally, that would be an and one on a continuation play. There's a bump right there after he picks up his dribble. And the college refs are getting a little more lax with that call in terms of continuation, but that time that was way too far out on the floor for it even to merit some consideration for continuation.
Now Tyler Lamb will come into the game, a 6'4" freshman from West Covina, went to Mater Dei High School, and he suffered food poisoning a week ago and just now getting his strength back.
Some kind of buffalo chili fry concoction that he said he'll never eat again.
Yeah, he's got to go to dinner with Josh Smith. Eat that
buffalo wing
and rice and fruit. Here's Josh down low. Oh, he'll be at the free throw line for 2. It was interesting. Lazarick Jones was saying, Josh, just get down low. We've got to feed you. Sometimes you got to let the big dog eat.
Well, the big dog will bark loudest when he eats well. And Josh Smith is the big dog, but nice job, Lazarick Jones. Zeke getting the hands down low. The basketball comes to it, forces Jimmer Fredette to the turnover. You need to see a lot more of that kind of defensive awareness when you're going against Jimmer Fredette.
In the West, basketball is more than a sport. It is a tradition, a culture, a revolution. This is where basketball lives. Welcome to Pac-10 basketball.
This holiday season,
Gordon Gekko is back.
Give the gift of Gekko.
Is that a threat? Absolutely.
Prime Ticket is your ticket to UCLA basketball. It's a battle of UCs as UCLA takes on UC Irvine, live from Pauley Pavilion, Thursday starting at 7 on Prime Ticket. Rick Neuheisel UCLA Football Weekly takes you inside the film room with Coach Neuheisel and gets you up to date with Bruins gridiron greats from the past. You won't get college credit, but you should. Monday night at 10:30 on Prime Ticket.
Brigham Young with a 4-point lead on UCLA. Let's go to Rebecca Harlow.
Well, guys, John Wooden, one of the most successful coaches of all time, and he built that pyramid of success to motivate his players. I caught up with Jimmer Fredette and asked him which pillar impacts him the most on that pyramid.
Say the word that stood out to me was confidence. It's a word that is very important just because I always have confidence in myself to do things that I need to get accomplished, and I think it's important to have confidence no matter where you are, whatever skill or job you're doing. You need to be confident in what you're doing to accomplish this thing, so I think that's the biggest key.
No lack of confidence on the floor today for Jimmer Fredette, but he says he gets that confidence from his work ethic and from the motivation over the years to continue to develop his game. And guys, this is really interesting. He used to play pickup games at a local prison where he earned the respect of inmates at a very young age. He said it's just one way that he's continued to develop his game, and he's certainly fierce out there, guys.
He is, and his family, a legend in Glen Falls, New York, Marcus.
Yeah, his older brother TJ would take Jimmer and some buddies over to Mount McGregor prison, sometimes Washington maximum security prison near where he lived, and they'd get it going. The first couple of games, they razzed him, gave him a hard time. They were betting cigarettes against him. And after he dropped about 45 on him, Steve, they became his biggest fan. And his brother TJ hears from some of those ex-inmates even today and asking how Jimmer's doing, and they follow his career.
And I think one of the keys to confidence is letting the bad go. Fredette only averages 2 turnovers a game. He already has 4 in this one, allowing UCLA to stay close.
You know, Malcolm Lee's taking up the challenge, and Zarek Jones, they're taking the challenge. They understand what kind of task they have in front of them. So they're putting a lot of pressure on Jimmer Fredette every time he touches the ball.
A turnover by Brigham Young. That is their 6th of the ball game. Ben Howland's Bruins could tie the game or take the lead with a 3.
A nice little run by UCLA. They've done it playing solid defense and then turning turnovers into transition points at the other end.
A 10-2 run by the Bruins. Malcolm Lee getting it to Reeves Nelson. They got Smith posting up down low, being defended by James Anderson. Nice pass by Smith, and how about the finish by Malcolm Lee?
Malcolm Lee trying to make a little name for himself out here also. Understands that there's a bunch of NBA scouts in the stands watching this game.
We have our first tie of the game. Emery in and out with the 3. Did they get a push? Was there a shove from Chris Collinsworth, who's playing his first game in about a month because he missed the first 6 games, or the last 6 games, because of an ankle injury. That's Kyle Collinsworth's older brother.
Chris Collinsworth, Kyle Collinsworth, Brandon Davies all played at Provo High School at different times, but they won a state championship together, and that had to be just a tremendous front line. These 3 talented youngsters all in the same school.
How about this? 8 team fouls by BYU and only 2 for UCLA. The officials, all 3 of them, are from Atlanta, Georgia. They are not Pac-10 officials or Mountain West officials. Our officials today are Tony Green, Mike Nance, and Glenn Tuitt.
And Mike Nance has a brother that I used to battle in the NBA by the name of Larry Nance, a Clemson star.
He could leap.
He could leap. I told him Larry Nance was responsible for me going from a small forward to a shooting guard. He was 6'10" and used to like to jump and dunk all over me. Time to change positions. Here we go, Jimmer Fredette. They got to get him started. Look for more dribble handoffs, down screens for Jimmer Fredette. He's got to become more active, get himself engaged, and trying to look for the open shots that he's used to getting within the context of BYU's offense. The ball screens, dribble handoffs.
I tell you, Malcolm Lee has done a wonderful job defensively in the last 10 minutes against Jimmer Fredette. Fredette had 8 quick points, and he's been quieted since. They go down low, and it's off the arm of a BYU Cougar. That's their 7th turnover. James Anderson could not handle a loose basketball, and Dave Rose concerned. BYU has not trailed by more than 3 points all year. Wow. Now remember, they almost lost to South Florida. They won that game in 2 overtimes.
Late game heroics to pull that one out. Again, I think you got to attack Jimmer Fredette offensively. If you're Lazarick Jones, they can play defense.
Nice move. And the bucket scored. UCLA goes up by 4. And Jones has his first from outside. A 16-2 Bruin run. Blocked by Brendan Lane.
And if you're Brigham Young, you've got to find some other offensive alternatives. That's why Dave Rose bringing back in Cal Collingsworth and Brandon Davies right away, because they are struggling some offensively. But here's Lazarick Jones matched up against Jimmer Fredette, left to right crossover. Got him retreating, stop on a dime jump shot, and make him have to expend some energy trying to stop you. It's not football. You come out and it's time to play defense. You got to stay on the floor. You don't check out. Okay, get in there and play some defense for me. Get the ball back. I'll come back in and shoot.
James Anderson misses both, but there's the rebound, and it goes right into the hands of Chris Collinsworth. Both Collinsworth brothers are on the floor at this time. Kyle finds Emery, but he hit the sideline. That's the 8th turnover. And Brigham Young was number 6 in the nation, fans. At turnovers per game, only 10. And they've already suffered 8. Josh Smith coming back in.
Give UCLA's defense some of the credit. They're playing active defense that time. Nice job, man-to-man defense against Collinsworth. Cut off the baseline. He has nowhere to go. Turnover, UCLA basketball.
This is a big game for UCLA. Smith can't handle the low pass.
For UCLA, for the Pac-10, it's an extremely important matchup here this afternoon. The conference has not played well against some of the powers, the national powers. This is a chance to get a real signature win here this afternoon.
They have played some close games. USC almost knocked off Kansas today in Lawrence. The Bruins almost beat KU in Lawrence. Washington State against Kansas State at home almost won that game. So they've been close, but not yet. This is a very young conference. UCLA, one of only 12 teams in Division I without a senior.
They say about almost horseshoes and hand grenades.
You got that right.
I mean, it's been close, but you got to get over the hump at some point. There's been some bad losses also, so this would be just a great win for the Bruins and for this conference. But there's a lot of basketball left to be played, obviously.
Now let's take a look at the Reese's perfect combination. We told you about the strength of BYU. It's in the backcourt.
It is. These guys have played together for 3 years, so they have the ability to kind of read each other, to know exactly what positions they're going to be in. And Jackson Emery told me yesterday that he knows what move Jimmer's going to do before Jimmer does. So he gets himself in position in case Jimmer gets himself into trouble and needs a bailout pass. They've had 3 different front lines over the past 4 years, so there's been a lot of upheaval in that area. But the backcourt has been solid, so just a nice, like a peanut butter and chocolate combination. Just
Reese's.
Heavenly, Steve.
Jackson Emery will go to the sideline.
I want a big case waiting for me when I get home, too.
Merry Christmas.
Exactly. Nice red ribbon, nice big box on the front porch.
Oh, gosh. I better go shopping, man. I thought it was all done.
Oh.
Kyle Collinsworth off on the left side being defended by Tyler Honeycutt. An 18-2 Bruin run. Collinsworth knocked away at the last moment, but it seems like either Honeycutt or another Bruin got him on the side of the body. That's the second foul on Honeycutt.
Love Collinsworth's activity, 6'6", 210-pound freshman. Let's see if it was a foul indeed. You saw the complaints of wow, looked like a lot of ball in that play, but because of Collinsworth's ability to move the basketball around and try and seek out contact, I think kind of got into the officials' head and made them blow the whistle. So that's a nice move by Kyle Collinsworth.
And he's a guy who constantly moves, and that was a John Wooden line. Never mistake activity for achievement.
Yeah.
Kyle Collinsworth, first team All-State at Provo. Won state titles as a freshman and sophomore there. Lee looking down low. Tyler Lamb has it. Reeves Nelson. Dave Rose worried about the 4s and 5s, Nelson and Josh Smith being covered by his interior defenders.
He's not going to win this game line. Reeves Nelson, nice job.
Smith comes up with it. Look at this wild one. Jimmer Fredette. shot.
Ben Howland livid, though. He thought that Tyler Lamb was in position to pick up the offensive foul. Didn't matter. Jimmer makes tough shots. He does it the first couple of times. You shake your head and say, oh, that was luck. And then, okay, maybe not. But then after you see him do it 10, 12 times, you know it's in his skill set.
Lee gets hammered, and finally a call. Fredette now with 10 points, but he had